country address teenage pregnancy. Data from the PSA show that over 2,200 births from young girls aged between 10 to 14 were recorded in 2021.
One lawmaker says allowing teens access to modern contraceptives should be considered a matter of national interest.
Upang matulungan ang ating mga kabataan sa kanilang karapatan na kailangan malusog at maganda ang kinabukasan at hindi na sila ma-expose sa generational poverty.
Please, ito po ay nagbibigay ng dagdag na kaluwagan sa mga kabataan natin.
As of this month, Filipinos are at 113,700,000. That's as of May 2023. What does our population growth mean to quality of life in terms of access to education, healthcare, and food? What's the impact on the economy? We discuss in this episode of the Chiefs. Welcome to the Chiefs. Ako po si Robbie Alampay. Kasama po natin sa studio, Ami Pamantuan, Editor-in-Chief ng Philippine Star, and Lucy Cruz Valdez, ang hepe po natin sa News 5. Chiefs.
Good evening.
Good evening. Napabasa ako. I wanted to get this right.
ka,
Diba? 113.7. No.
Teka, gano'ng kataas? Anong itinaas? How much
And last we
increase?
heard mga less than 100. Hindi, 100
Parang
plus.
100, di ba?
100 plus
Kailangan
na.
na, ako nga, napako na ako sa 101 eh.
Oo nga.
Kasi dati either mag-round up ka na lang. I remember rounding up to 100.
100.
I remember
Naging
rounding
102
down.
yata.
Yes, right.
Pero ngayon, lumampas ka ng
Ang laki,
110. Parang hindi ka na pwedeng mag-round down to
Hindi na
100.
That's the current. Pati yung mga natin, overseas Filipino workers, 12 million na pala. Dati 10 million ako ng 10
Oo
million.
nga, ano?
Sobra, no?
But that one seems, now that you mentioned that number, that seems to have stabilized in my mind because akala ko dati, that was always trending up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Diba? That was
Yes.
always trending up.
1
But
million a
100,
year.
that 12,
Yes.
it's more or less still what I remember
Yeah, mga
over the past
average
2
yata
years.
1 million a year.
Well, dahil kasi nagpipigil tayo, like pinagbabawal natin ng mga
Oo nga.
nurse.
That's true.
At
That's
ngayon
true.
may bago pang proposal, di ba, na dapat may 1-year mandatory service muna
Yan na
ang
nga,
magagraduate ng nursing at saka medicine, no? So, maalma yung mga nurses, syempre.
Pero yung mga hospital owners, private, even the big
Oo,
private
although
hospital
hirap na
owners,
hirap talaga sila.
lahat daw, pati pharmacist, lahat ng health workers.
Not only that, actually, that's something. When we get to an episode
Yes.
about nursing, medical, especially doctors, I hear there are medical students getting a harder
Yes.
time
Yes.
getting the requirements from the DOH so that they could apply for a J1 visa to the United States. So parang dun pa lang naipit. We're not just talking about keeping doctors
Yes.
here. We're actually, if I'm getting it right, students are being prevented from even pursuing graduate studies abroad.
At saka yung shortage na yan, na-realize talaga, naramdaman yan ng pandemic. Eh.
Yes.
So yung government ngayon, napilitan talaga na, di ba, parang, teka muna, hindi kayo pwedeng alis ng alis, hindi kayo pwedeng abroad ng abroad. But how do you balance that? And that's really a tough.
Kasi sobrang aggressive ang recruitment ngayon globally.
Exactly,
Buong
because of the
pamilya.
pandemic also. Ang gaganda ng
Yes,
benefits.
Yes.
And-
You can bring your
Grabe.
entire family.
Yeah.
And as we all know, masalimuot yan because every time we talk about those options or the limits there, we are in fact talking about the economy. And the reality is every time we're talking about the economy, we have to talk about our population. And that's what we're going to do. We will begin our conversation with our first guest. But first, we have to take a quick break. Please stay with us. The Chiefs will be right back.
Welcome back to the Chiefs. Joining us now is Dr. Lisa Grace Versales. She's the Executive Director of the Commission on Population and Development. Good evening, ma'am.
Good
and welcome to the Chiefs here in the studio.
Good evening.
Good
Good
evening po.
evening. I'm very happy to be here doing this conversation with you.
Here.
In
person.
person,
Yes,
yes.
in person.
It's
Yeah.
good to be back.
Of course, the last time we were with you, you were still the head of the PSA.
Yes,
Right?
yes, yes.
Now you're the head of Population Commission.
Right, from data producer to data user.
Well, there you go. Can you define for us the new job and what it entails?
Well, it's population and development. And so the role and the mandate really of the commission is to provide advice, policies, programs related to how demographic trends affect our citizens. And so we are mandated to be the lead in the population program and policies
sige.
of the country.
Start tayo dun sa demographic trends. Dumadami tayo. Yun yung trend.
Ayun yan.
Tama po ba? 130. Did I read that right? 113.
0.7.
Well, as of
May.
May, 110.6.
So,
But as of July, it's 112.9
July
of this year. The projection.
So projection.
Projection.
to.
These are
Hindi,
projections.
personal galing yun. And in any case.
But the projections I'm quoting are based on Philippine Statistics Authority's projections based on 2015 census. There are different projections based on different censuses. So the past was based on 2010.
I see.
Now
Ito.
I'm quoting 2015
Okay.
based projections.
Okay.
And the Philippine Statistics Authority is now doing the projections based on 2020.
Okay, so that's just a
Census.
3-year, itong binabasa natin na numbers, it's from the a base of
Yes.
3 years.
Yes.
So, ano yung, gaano kalaki yung linaktaw nun? Whatever the accurate or fair description is, gaano kalaki yung tinaas?
Well, we are growing by 1.6% annually.
Okay.
Annually.
But that is a slow growth already. Kasi before,
Compared to?
it was 2.7% in the past. Now we're down to 1.6%.
By past, you mean what
in the
years?
past
Yeah.
censuses,
okay.
like 2010.
Kaya na nga
mga
yan.
decade
Per
ago,
family,
mga
how
ganyan.
many children yun?
Oh, the average now is about 4.5.
Right now.
Oh, right.
From
Mababa
before.
na yun, ha?
Mababa na yon, but that's nationwide.
Yes.
There are a lot of disparities across regions and across socioeconomic
Nung
classes.
2.7, ilan yon per family?
Around 5.
Sige.
So, kumukonti na rin naman yung...
Sige, we'll break it down mamaya. We'll try to break it down along different demographics, also different geographic locations
Right.
and regions. Pero yung unang tanongin ko muna, because this was basically comparing or projecting over the last 3 years, how big was COVID a factor there in this current, in the population growth and the trends?
Okay, the 2020 census actually is the one that gave the latest annual growth of 1.6.
Okay.
So there is some COVID effect there, but we cannot really disentangle the trend that it was going down actually even before COVID. So there is the COVID effect, but we don't have an estimate because it's really, the trend has been going down. But 2020 indeed added the COVID effect.
Anong factors for the decrease?
Yeah,
in
is there any study on the cause?
Well, we assume that the population policies that were enforced in the past decades.
So that's the reproductive health
Yes,
program, which you
yes.
are also part,
Right, with DOH.
You are working with the
Yes.
Department of Health. So kumustahin
Right.
namin yan. How is that going along? And how did it fare during the lockdowns?
Okay, so there is a partnership between POPCOM and DOH
Yes.
on the provision of family planning supplies, contraceptives. The partnership is that DOH procures those contraceptives, and POPCOM is the one that delivers, distributes to the local government units that request for them. Because some of them already have
Kailangan
their
may
own.
request.
Oo.
You
So
don't
we
distribute based on your study as to, which regions may need more management than others.
Historically, the distribution is based on the past.
Okay.
But to actually distribute to specific LGUs, we get requests from them.
So, kumusta yung during the pandemic? Tumaas ba yung request?
During the pandemic, kasi lockdown,
Yes.
the request in a way was just almost the same because we never stopped providing the requests. So as far as I know, some LGUs, they actually go household to household to provide these contraceptives to households that ask for them.
Maybe that can lead us into the conversation ngayon on how different are different regions, different places. No? Kasi I imagine if this is also based on requests, there are LGUs that request. There are
More than-
LGUs that request less. And there are LGUs that beyond requesting will, as you said, will actively go door to door and really promote. But ano yung pagkakaiba sa mga LGUs when it comes to that demand and that service that they extend, and how is that manifest in the region to region, maybe even province to province differences in the trends of their populations?
I don't have the exact LGUs that request, but let us discuss the total fertility rate that came out in the 2022 National Demographic and Health Survey by region.
Okay.
The total fertility rate now nationwide is 1.9. This means that as of 2022, women would have 1.9 children. NCR has 1.2.
Okay.
That's
Mas mababa.
already like Singapore.
Yeah.
Yes.
One per, ano?
Eh no, parang
Yes.
Singapore na.
Oo.
Oo nga.
Malapit na.
Doon man na.
Hindi na.
Pantay man lang tayo.
Sa NCR,
Perfect.
Babaw natin.
Sige. Okay.
ang next, so on the other end of the spectrum is
Highest.
BARM.
Barm.
Yes,
Yeah.
barm.
3
Wow.
ang total fertility rate.
And of course, the context there is this is one of the most impoverished regions, having also bigger families.
Right.
But there's also, a big population of urban poor in Metro Manila. And you were saying that one of the demographics that you measure, at least yung socioeconomic class, that's a factor, di ba?
Right.
In population management.
Right.
So how is, for example, Metro Manila doing in terms of managing population by socioeconomic class?
Actually, the LGUs here in Metro Manila, because they are more accessible, services are more accessible, then citizens are able to go to health facilities
So
and
hindi
ask.
masyadong
Hindi
factor
sila
yun?
masyadong hirap mag-access ng family planning
The
services.
request is high, I would imagine, no? Because in delivery system is very, very
Right.
smooth, no?
But
Yeah.
because NCR LGUs are richer, so they would actually, they are able to procure their own family
that's
planning
true. That's true.
product.
Pero
So,
bottom line, dun sa tanong ni Lucy, the fertility rate for, let's say, an urban poor family in Metro Manila, how does that compare to the fertility rate of, let's say, a middle class to upper income family still in Metro Manila?
I don't have the exact value, but just based on what I said, where Metro Manila has 1.2, NCR has 1.2, and the others actually are around 2, 2.4, 2.1, then we would expect that the lower socioeconomic status in Metro Manila would have maybe about 1.9 or 2. Just quick estimate, top of my head.
Pero mababa pa rin yun.
Mababa
That's
pa rin
about-
yun. That's
that's
still
about-
low.
Mababa pa rin. Mababa pa
Yes.
rin.
Is that within the target? I mean, is the government setting targets for this? Is that within the government target?
The government, we do not target.
Walang
Because
ganon.
we always respect the
Yes.
decision of couples. However, the ideal is 2.1. That is called the
So we're pretty low.
replacement.
What do you mean? Who says it's the ideal?
It's actually demographers, because that
Okay.
means that a couple will have two
Replacement.
children. So they will replace themselves. Parang ganon.
Saka tinatanong ko yan because the businessmen are saying, the investors were saying, nung medyo mataas pa yung, well, it wasn't 1.2. Nung panahon na yan, before 1.2, they were saying, we were actually in a sweet spot by way of population growth because nga of what you're talking about. We have a young population, we have a replacement population, and ito yung workforce na re-replenish regularly. So paano are we in danger of losing this sweet spot?
We are actually still there. We are not yet in danger of going the route of
Negative.
South Korea,
Yes,
Japan,
negative
where
growth.
they are in an inverted pyramid situation where there are more
Elderly.
than young. We are still in the situation where about 60% of our population are working age. About 30% are the young dependents, and about 5%. I'm not sure if I added it correctly, but about 5 to 8%, 60 and above.
Okay. And if the trends hold, how long is that window of being in this demographic sweet spot?
Usually, it takes decades to go to the next phase of demographic dividend, and the next phase is where Thailand is now, where it's not a pyramid anymore. The age-sex distribution is like a box, where or maybe there are more working age than young dependents.
Okay.
So that's actually the second demographic dividend.
Pero papunta ba yun sa inverted pyramid or not necessarily?
It depends on the population policies of the government.
But okay, so is that a policy? I hope not, right?
No, we don't have any policy.
I see.
We give to couples the liberty to choose their number of children. It's a right of couples to choose. What the Commission Population and Development does is to convince couples to choose their number of children correctly, where they choose the number of children that they can provide good education, promote their health, and make them productive citizens.
Meron ba yung affordability chart? Halimbawa, if a couple's income is X, the ideal number of children is X, given the geographic location of the home.
I'm not aware of such a study because the aspirations of a couple could be different from couple to couple. So like for some couples, they can live with like say 20,000 per month for 3 children because they will just bring their children to public schools. Well, some couples would need more because they would want to bring their children to private schools. So it really depends on the aspiration of the couple.
Mga bata kasi sagabal talaga yung mga
Pero you are also promoting spacing, di ba?
Oh, yes.
So how is
we are promoting
that program
spacing.
coming along?
I think we're doing really well because the women are able now to decide for themselves. The
You mean
spacing.
there's higher awareness?
Higher
Or,
awareness, yes. And that is actually, we have data for that from the National Demographic and Health Survey.
Because Filipino women are becoming more aware
Yes,
of the need to space childbirth.
right.
Can you tell us more about that? There's a study?
I cannot quote a particular study, but it is actually also, it is a validation. The total fertility rate that we now have of 1.9 is a validation.
Yeah, but is it higher awareness, or was the awareness always there, and is it really just a matter of better access?
In my mind, it's a combination of many factors. More awareness and more accessibility to services. But really, the women that are left behind that we need to really go to are the less educated and the ones in the lower socioeconomic
Which brings
status.
me to the more newsy issue, which is teenage pregnancies.
yeah.
No? So while women, sabihin na lang natin, in relationships, are more aware, what about our teenagers? Why are there more teenage pregnancies?
Yeah. The latest National Demographic and Health Survey, the 2022, actually has good news. The number of adolescent births are going down What is worrying is the rise in pregnancies of children,
Younger.
even 10 to
Younger
14.
children.
Oh dear.
Do you know that we actually have recorded a young mother 9 years of age?
Pero what might be the reason?
Grooming.
I believe it's really more access to internet, to media.
So I mean, it's not because they're being trafficked. Talagang sila yan by choice yan.
Well, there are yeah, by choice.
I
in
mean
my mind, it's
experimentation, no?
But
They're not being forced to
No,
do.
no, I don't think so.
Okay.
But there are
What?
cases where you have some incest.
Yes.
Yes, yun na nga. Hindi
Yes.
din yan. That's not the main reason.
That's not the main reason, but
Okay.
there are some cases, and
Okay.
these happen usually in hard-to-reach areas.
Okay.
And we are concerned about situation of the indigenous peoples.
When you
Oh,
see
dear.
internet, grooming now is, it's something that more widespread now than ever. No? Do you think that's a factor?
I don't have data, but I would say yes.
Kasi
In
internet
fact,
di ba?
we also have statistics that show that many of the male partners of adolescent mothers are 20 and above.
Exactly, yes.
They are
Yun eh, grooming
older.
nga eh. Parang they prey on younger
Yeah.
girls, no?
So these are statistics. What is needed really is to look at more qualitative studies, like case studies, really looking at more stories, the faces behind the numbers. And I believe that researchers at universities have them. So we at the Commission on Population Development is in the process of putting together all of this, getting the data usually from the Philippine Statistics Authority, but having all of these stories of actual people.
Okay. On the other hand, what could have been the factor that reversed what we were afraid of might be a trend in terms of teenage pregnancy? No? Kung nabawasan, what could have been the
First
reason
of
for
all,
that?
we have policies that have been put in place. Very important is the executive order of the former President Duterte, EO 141, which declared as a national priority addressing the root causes of teenage pregnancies.
Meaning, exactly.
ano yun?
What
Which
does
one?
it
He
mean?
actually instructed different government agencies to craft interventions. And so the Commission on Population Development partnered with a number of agencies, among them DSWD. So we have the social...
DepEd, I think, no?
Oh, of course, DepEd.
Yeah,
Yes.
but
okay, so what are the interventions?
There are teen centers in schools. So this is DepEd initiative, where the teens have this center where they can go and spend time there, not loitering around with more productive.
The point, the point is, you said the president issued an EO directing all agencies to address the root causes behind teenage. What are the root causes? I mean, is it an easy list to top 5, for example, root causes for teenage pregnancy?
Well, it's really about more knowledge given to the students about sexuality and how they have
sex
to
ed.
promote.
Sex ed.
Yeah.
Sex ed.
So we have the comprehensive sexuality education,
Okay.
which the Department of Education is promoting, but it hasn't flown yet. So I know that the current secretary, VP Duterte, has instructed that this comprehensive sexuality education be really put really in all schools. So that's
Okay.
one, knowledge.
So she wants priority given to that.
Among the priorities of her basic education sector initiative called Matatag.
Oh, we'll take off on Matatag. We just need to take a short break, but we will continue the discussions after this break.
Thanks for staying with us here on the Chiefs. Still with us is Dr. Lisa Grace Bersales of the Commission on Population and Development. We were talking about Matatag and the comprehensive sexuality education. Can you tell us more about it? What does it mean what's a comprehensive sexuality education? Ano yung in-entail nun?
It really is a discussion of the various areas related to children and young people's sexuality.
So I
it-
remember kasi dati yung ano lang yung anatomical.
Yeah.
Yan lang ang tinuturo sa sex
Oo.
education. So what is it
not
now?
that. So it includes anatomy and what the body is, where are the reproductive organs, but that's just a very minor component.
Yes.
The other one is more about teaching them how to relate with each other in a healthy way, expressing sexuality, but not to go yet into
Yes.
intimacy.
The
Like-
behavior. So there's the knowledge, there's the behavior.
Yes, behavior, knowledge, attitudes, and really promoting for the young to delay.
Okay, now they
Anong
might
grade
get...
level yan inumpisahan? What grade level?
I believe it's more junior and senior high
Okay,
school.
so we're
High
talking
school.
about youngsters getting comprehensive sex education, not just understanding the anatomy, sexuality, but also, I mean, talking about values, talking about behavior, and so on. So they have access to the knowledge. They have access even to the wisdom. Let's call it that. Do they have access to the services?
No, not yet. Because the Reproductive Health Act was not very explicit about provision of such for minors, plus the Supreme Court actually suspended such.
Yes.
That is why the Congress and the Senate now are crafting a bill on social protection for adolescent mothers and their children, where the aim is for the minors to have services without consent of parent. So it's again a heavy debate that will be.
But then it's hard to believe that they don't have access to that information. It is,
Hindi, yun nga, yung
Hindi,
information
yung
they do.
services, the
Access to the
contraception.
service.
Yeah,
The
walang contraception, walang,
Yes.
hindi sila binibenta.
Oo.
but they can access sexuality education.
Yes, yes,
We
yes,
know- I
yes.
see.
Yes.
So, I mean,
No, but is there an age for that? Because
Age majority, 18.
18.
Yeah.
But even
below
younger
that,
ones,
they cannot.
I
Ayun
guess...
na nga, doon
the,
ako
the public
naiintriga eh.
service,
That-
the public service, kasi ang public service na family planning services, free yun. So, yun yung hindi nila ma-access.
What are those products and services that are part of the reproductive health program? That let's say somebody younger than 18 years old, maybe as young as 15, whatever, don't have access to.
Pills,
Pills.
specifically, which is the most commonly used modern contraception, condom, IUD,
And right now, a minor cannot get that
Without consent of-
consent from the ano.
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, that is an issue because some adolescent mothers who've already given birth, we are promoting that they space, they delay having more, but they have more because they're minors, and so they still have to.
They don't
get
have the
consent.
They're already
reproductive
parents.
services.
They're already parents. The least we could do for them now is to teach them about spacing, and and even then they still can't.
Cannot access family planning services without consent of
I see.
What
parents.
about from private hospitals? Pwede yan?
Well, actually, hindi pa rin dapat.
But they can,
but
di ba?
if you go to 7-Eleven, readily
yes,
readily
yes.
available sa counter itong
Hindi,
mga-
tinatanong
Pag
ba? Yun nga, gusto ko
binibili.
malaman, naghahanap ba ng ID
ID.
yan? Parang sa alcohol, di ba? I mean,
Parang sigarilyo.
Oo, di ba? Naghahanap ba?
I'm
Hindi
not
na
aware.
siguro, no? Oo, or ipapabili na lang yan sa consenting adult na
certainly.
kaibigan, no? What about numbers for abortion? Is that something that you also track? And is it trackable given that many of these abortions
Because it's
happen?
clandestine.
Because it's illegal, we don't really have the numbers.
So we have no idea whether it's up or down.
I cannot. Yeah, I don't have any idea.
Alright,
Maybe some studies have them, but I have no. For now, I don't know.
How do we reverse that? Okay, going back to the population policy, no? Because now that's the main problem of many countries in Europe and even here in Asia, Singapore, for example, nagiging negative na yung growth.
Oh,
Japan,
right,
for
right.
example,
Right,
There are
oo.
more older people than young people, and the young people have to be the ones to, pay taxes
Right.
for the welfare of the elderly. Obviously, that's also not a good thing. It's very discouraging to the younger population, and ang daming mapapabayad. How do we reverse? How do we make sure that we don't get into that inverted pyramid situation? Negative growth.
Again, as I've said, managing population policy. Now, it takes many decades to shift from one
Ilang
demographic
generation
transition.
yan? Is that,
Oo.
Pero that's a
two
traditional,
generations
that's
or-
traditional movement eh.
Oo.
Paano
Oo,
ngayon
eh.
na nakikita ng mga tao,
Yeah.
ang daming model, di ba?
Yes,
Ay,
exactly.
ayoko na magkaanak kasi
Oo, eh.
ito nakikita ko, kapitbahay ko,
Yes.
yung K-drama, yung anak.
No, that's
Di ba?
true.
No, I mean, napakalakas ng influence na yun eh.
Uh-huh.
And
Yes.
I know a lot of young couples actually who no
Yeah.
longer
Gusto
want
na lang
children.
mag-aso. I mean, there's
Yeah,
that's
aso
the
na
word
lang,
for
oo.
for parenting.
So,
right?
baka mapabilis yung punta natin to an aging population. Is that possible?
That is possible.
Yes.
That is why the government really has to promote a proper
Yes,
choice of family size. But in my mind, the solution is really for the government to provide all the necessary services to enable
Yes.
young couples really
To
to have
decide.
children.
Or
Yes. So these are
To make their decisions.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
I think it's making wise
Right,
decisions.
right.
No?
And I believe that the government already has put in place some, but it's the implementation part which is a challenge. Like for example, talaga namang merong daycare dapat ang mga
Yes.
establishments so that the working mother can bring their children.
Yun ang
But
tatanong
that
ko,
is
yung
still-
role of women who want to join the workforce. Ano yun, napakalaki bang factor yon for deciding na ayoko na magkaanak or I'll just have one child?
Yes, yeah. Yung kanilang desire to have their own career
Yes.
is really one main factor. But if they can manage a career and have children, I believe they want to. So for me, it's really more services, enabling environments in
Yes.
working
Right.
places for them to really have both career
Yeah.
and children.
So will we be seeing a time when the government will actually be encouraging more reproduction? Kasi you
Yeah,
mentioned
and-
Singapore.
Right.
Singapore had a romantic Singapore year. One of their few failures, walang nangyari.
Right.
Hindi nangyari. Gusto nila mag-date yung mga nila, mga tao. Hindi
Hindi
nangyari.
nangyari. Yeah. At talagang gusto
Are you
nila.
seeing this in the foreseeable future?
Kasi
na
parang
gagawin din
paradigm
natin?
shift din yan eh, di
Yeah.
ba? Parang, it used to be that parents looked at their children as a possible source of income in the future. And
Pero ngayon,
people will take care of them in their older years, right? Their
Ngayon,
son.
hindi na ganyan eh.
Oo, in their sunset years. Pero ngayon, hindi na yan ang viewpoint, di ba? Hindi na.
Saka
People
iniisip
are
ng
not
babae,
looking
"Ay,
at their
nako."
children as the source of, no? But instead, burden eh. Di ba? Parang,
In my mind, that is part of the comprehensive sexuality education.
Is it part of the comprehensive sexuality education?
Maybe not yet because we
Okay.
are not yet there. But really, the CSE, comprehensive sexuality education, really promotes for girls and boys to understand their sexuality, but also to dream of who they want to be. And to realize that they have to delay intimacy if they want to go
But
to that
parang
dream.
yung value of family, no? Is that something
Oh,
that's
yes.
that's part of that section? Kasi parang feeling ko, it's not just about having children or not having children. It's also about raising families, and
Yes.
family is such a basic unit
Right.
of our being a community and as a nation, right? But
Yes.
it's not being taught because parang sometimes I feel like sex ed is just focused on, how many
Ano
children, how will
na.
I manage my resources, hindi ko na kaya yan. Instead of thinking of, building families that are healthy, building healthy homes.
Right.
Diba?
The good
How do you
news is
teach
this, that when NEDA did the survey to come up with the Ambisyon Natin 2040, the dream of the people who were interviewed, these were young people, is to have families, to be rooted with
really?
family and friends.
Oh, that's good to
so
hear.
our population policy is rooted in culture. In my
Yes.
mind, as we craft population policies, we really have to promote the Filipino
Yeah.
culture.
And it's those
So-
two things, di ba? Parang on the one hand, the culture, talagang mahal naman natin ang pamilya. It's such a strong foundational institution for Filipinos. On the other hand, as we develop, everybody gets empowered. Ideally, girls especially catch up with having access and all the options that are there. Ang question ko lang is, how is this being manifest, taking away, let's say, the outliers of teenage pregnancies and,
Abortions
but
and
those
stuff,
who make a decision to have family, what are we seeing in the trends there? Are they growing older? Are they taking, in other words, are they going career first?
Are they
and
marrying
are
later,
Are
no?
they marrying later? Are they having children later?
They're marrying later and they're having children later based on our civil registration
Okay.
vital statistics.
What has changed?
What's the average?
I think
age
2
now
years
that they-
later, 2
Yeah.
to 3 years later.
Which is what, 24, 25?
From,
Hindi
from
na, nasa late
25,
20s
naging
na.
28 na. Oo.
28 na?
Which is for me
na yun.
not yet worrying.
Yeah.
Oo.
But there's also a danger in giving birth in
Medyo
later
late.
years, di ba, for women. I mean, di ba, they become high risk. That's what they're called, high risk pregnancies.
The good news is medical
Yeah, that's true.
medicine has gone a long way.
That's true.
In
The
addressing
technology has allowed
Yes,
40-year-olds to give
Right,
birth.
right.
I'm one of the 40-year-olds who gave birth, 42 years old.
Kaya yung population policy natin, we need to craft in the context of now.
That's true.
We have better technology in medicine is better. Our young are more ambitious. They have dreams
That's
that they
true.
want to fulfill.
Yeah.
But as I've said, we have to put it in the culture of the Filipino, which is really still very much
Yeah.
family-oriented. And this goes to our aging population. Because
We take care of our own
yes,
family,
so now there's the social protection floor that the president just approved just
What's
this
that?
April. The social protection floor provides different services for the different population groups. So mga insurance services, and they have singled out aging population, and they are promoting active aging.
Oh, sige,
What does
what
that
does that
mean?
mean
Active
exactly?
aging means that even if you're already 60 and above, you are still
Productive.
productive.
So,
as a
Ami, may pag-asa ka
citizen.
pa.
Oo nga. Sige, ano yung specifically, how can an elderly be productive under this program?
Retooling. Even as we age, we still
To
have to
learn
do
new things,
lifelong
ano?
learning.
That's true.
Lifelong
Yeah.
learning is being promoted. And
Right.
actually, that was the session that I attended at the UN Commission on Population Development,
Okay.
where the discussion was education, sustainable development, and population issues.
So what types of courses might you learn under a lifelong learning program? Anong skills? What skills can you learn?
It is your choice.
Bahala ka,
Hindi,
gusto
kaya
mo
ano
maging
yung
painter.
ino-offer?
Gusto mo mag-TikTok?
ino-offer
Pwede ka matutuloy mag-TikTok.
Pwede ka
Matututo ka ako ng
mag-vlogger
internet.
ka.
Vlogger ka,
Laki ng
vlogger.
Ayun,
kita
yun,
ng
yung
mga
tech.
vlogger.
Hindi, ano nga yung mga focus? Siyempre, may focus area din yan.
Well,
Hindi
I
naman
don't know.
everything in anything and everything.
I believe the gig economy is really
Okay.
flying.
That's
So
true.
the gig economy,
Okay.
digital, even,
Gig
but
economy.
still, we are still with
Yeah.
crafts.
I guess the
and-
point also
Sino
is,
magpo-provide niyang ganyan?
We have TESDA, but I don't know if TESDA already has.
Di ba overwhelmed na yata ang test
Oo
na?
nga,
I don't know if they already have.
K to 12 pa lang, kulang na sila eh.
Yeah. So I think that's one that they're discussing this TESDA CHIEFS issues in the EDCOM now.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess the point is, there must be a competitive advantage that comes with age and experience and expertise that you
Talaga, si
still have,
Pope
di ba?
86 na.
Hindi, but you have to retool.
Yeah, retooling.
Yeah, because kung minsan din, as the older you get,
talaga
di
yung
ba?
example.
Sobra naman.
I mean,
Si Biden, 80.
I'll be honest, there are a lot of things here that are heartening to hear. There are
Yeah.
still realities we have to attend to. Just bringing it back to the realities.
Okay.
In terms of legislation, education, and access, what are some barriers that you're still encountering, especially at the local government levels?
I was looking at the education statistics. COVID really affected education. I think we know,
Yes,
we all
yeah.
know that,
Yeah.
where completion rate really fell. Children were not able to finish schooling, and it hit hardest sa senior high schools. Yung elementary, medyo nag-continue sila. But yung senior high school, talagang nag-drop yung completion rate. But I hope it's just because of COVID, because the statistics were 2021 statistics. But the good news is, because of COVID, yung facilities ng schools for digital computers, dumami na siya. So, because of COVID, yun yung positive part.
Ma'am, inevitably naman po, you'll see this in media, you'll see this in social media. Ang headline talaga ng mga tao, hala, 110 million na tayo. Di ba? Tapos sabihin mo, hindi nga, 112 nga raw, 113 nga raw, and so on. But if it were up to you, what's the real headline? What's a proper way to frame this for people so that they understand what's really happening to our population?
My headline, if I were to say it, is we are headed to a demographic transition where the growth of a population is slowing down.
Okay.
So we now have more and more working age population. We have less young dependents, more aging population. So in my mind, that is good news.
So we're actually trending in the right direction.
We are trending in the right direction, but we need to hasten that transition so that there will be more and more working age population. The issue is health and education. So as we have more working age population, we have to prepare those who will be working to be better educated and to have good health. So kailangan magstay muna sila sa school bago sila magtrabaho. That is really where I believe the Department of Education is working hard on.
Health and education, malaki problema natin.
Is the church
Mga
or
nurse
religion in general still, I mean, how do you see it now in the way they work with you, the way their engagement with local governments? Are our religious leaders and institutions a partner now, or are they still in reality?
Oh, they are
also-
very relevant because of what I said earlier, where population policies should be crafted within culture. And part of the Philippine culture is that we are very religious. So the Population Commission, the Commission on Population Development and PSA actually partner to have this marriage seminar before you
counseling.
actually get married. And that is, many of these advisors are from religious groups.
Okay.
I would like also to say that the imams of our Muslim communities have been very helpful as well. And because they're very influential, they are able to help in the management of population.
Okay.
What about our overseas Filipinos?
Oh, yeah.
Especially since many of them leave their children behind, even as they themselves actually form families abroad. What about that? How does that factor into the population plans?
That is actually one population group that the Commission on Population and Development is going to work more on, because we have a really concern on children whose mothers are the ones leaving the family.
Or
So-
being raised by grandmothers or other guardians, right?
Right.
Yeah.
It's okay if they're raised, in my mind, by grandmothers and other women of the family. What is worrying is when they're left with the males.
Right, that's true.
And that is where we have some stories of incest.
That's true. Yeah.
Habol ko lang yung comprehensive sexuality education. When will it be launched?
Oh, it has started already, actually. Even in 2018, I believe, the Department of Education
you
has
need to ramp
already...
it up, di ba?
It needs to be ramped up.
So-
One barrier is really the teachers. Because teachers still are not comfortable generally talking about
Dapat may
sexuality.
specialist teachers dyan.
So, what's
think?
the
So
remedy?
part of the matatag of Department of Education is to work on training more the teachers, not just in comprehensive sexuality education, but in all other aspects.
So this is supported by Education Secretary.
Yes,
Sara
yes,
Duterte.
yes. Matatag is hers.
Yes.
Yes. But the Commission on Population and Development has also worked with the LGUs down to the ground, down in the ground to really help LGUs as well. And those LGUs with schools that are very open to teachers being provided orientation
Ano yung
and
schools na yun?
training.
Ano yung, what about the Catholic schools? Are they open to this?
Oh, we work with public schools.
Not the private schools.
Not the private schools.
Ma'am,
So this is not included in the curriculum of the
I believe
of the private schools.
Okay.
Catholic private schools?
The private and public education, they have the same competencies as
okay. So,
the-
kasama naman yan.
yeah.
Pero hindi
But
naman
the
yan
but
competency.
the comprehensive sexuality education is really
Subject
promoted in
yan.
the public schools.
Okay. Ma'am, we're almost out of time, so gusto ko lang isingit because you did mention it specifically. You said you're also particularly concerned for our IP, Indigenous
yes,
peoples
yes,
communities. What's
yes.
going on?
Yes. Again.
Why these particular concern?
Because they are so hard to reach. They're usually in hard to reach areas. And so they don't have access to family planning services.
And
some
are there
other-
numbers outliers from that of the rest of the country?
Oh, they are outliers.
To
So-
what extent? What are the numbers with our IP communities?
Oh, I cannot, sorry, Robbie, I don't have the data, but they are a concern. So the specific IPs, so in Mimaropa, we're starting with the Mangyans.
Okay.
Oo. Kasi iba-iba din yung kanilang culture eh. So we have to be very specific on which groups.
And you're right, they're hard to reach, even on
Yes.
coverages. Even if they have cell phones, they're hard to reach.
But they're receptive to the idea.
They are, yes. But again, we go through the village chieftains, the tribal leaders.
Okay. Dr. Lisa Grace Berceles, Executive Director po ng POPCOM. That's the Commission on Population and Development. Ma'am, maraming salamat.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you too.
And that is it for the Chiefs. Ako po si Robbie Alampay.
We hope what was discussed here will keep the conversation going. I'm Ami Pamintuan.
And I'm Luchi Cruz Valdez. We are One News, all sides, all the time.